did I get attacked from the right? And I thought, and I don't even follow the attacks on me ever, but I kept getting texts from people. Oh, I can't believe you said that. Or people are mad at you for saying that. And I thought of all the dumb, cruel, untrue things I have said over 30 years of just talking in public, a lot of which I regret. And I hope I've apologized for every bad thing I've said, but I've said a lot of really things are impossible to defend. That's what they attacked me on?
Tucker Carlson recently interviewed Dave Smith, and they went into all of the controversies that have been happening recently between Tucker Carlson going on Joe Rogan and sparking these meltdowns from the Daily Wire, from Ben Shapiro, and from Jeremy Boring, talking about the Candace Owens firing from the Daily Wire, everything. They covered everything, and Tucker Carlson absolutely roasted the Daily Wire and all of their nonsense. Let's check out this clip here from this interview between Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith talking about these Daily Wire controversies.
That circle, yes. But what's interesting is that so many people who talk about America first or whatever, they're fully on board with this. They attack anyone who's not. I had a thoroughly bizarre experience the other day, and maybe you can shed light on what it means, because I don't fully understand it, but I was doing Rogan's podcast at your urging. So thank you for that. I had a great time.
I loved the podcast.
Yeah, it was super, super fun. But it was very long. It was like 3 hours long. So, and I can't stop talking. So I'm right, another thing. And I'm going on about whatever, And at one point, I just blurted out for like 15 seconds, something I've thought about recently, which is the use of the nuclear bombs, the only time they have been used, in August of 1945 against Hiroshima and then Nagasaki. Complex topic. A lot of it's not publicly well known. Okay. But just the bottom line fact that we dropped, particularly the bomb on Nagasaki, which was the Christian capital of Japan, by the way, that bomb was dropped on a church and killed, 3/4 of the Christians in the city, which bothers me as a Christian. But leaving even that aside, it killed civilians. It wasn't dropped on a military base. It was killed civilians. And I get why people did it, or maybe I don't get it, but I think 80 years later, we can say, it's not something to brag about, incinerating civilians. I don't care what the context is. That's evil. That's basically all I said. Holy shit. Did I get attacked from the right? And I thought, and I don't even follow the attacks on me ever, but I kept getting texts from people. Oh, I can't believe you said that. Or people are mad at you for saying that. And I thought of all the dumb, cruel, untrue things I have said over 30 years of just talking in public, a lot of which I regret, and I hope I've apologized for every bad thing I've said, but I've said a lot of really things are impossible to defend. That's what they attack me on?
Yeah, it just doesn't, it's wild to me as well. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about, the bombing of Japan and that whole situation. To me, it's a no-brainer, right? Like Tucker Carlson said. They were talking about AI. Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan were talking about AI, and that's why this was brought up. Because it's very obvious if we leave AI to how it's going right now, if we allow it to continue to be developed as it's going right now, eventually bad things are going to happen. Every single smart person in the world is saying the same exact thing. And Joe Rogan brought up to Tucker Carlson, you could say the same thing about the atom bomb. Should we have shut it down, or should we have allowed it to continue to get developed until it ended up killing a bunch of people? And Tucker Carlson was like, you're exactly correct. I wish we would have shut down the development of the atom bomb, and I wish we would shut down the development of AI, because bad things happened when those bombs were developed. There's no doubt about it. A bunch of innocent people died in Japan. And he was saying that that's a bad thing, that a bunch of innocent people in Japan got bombed. That's a bad thing. And Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire lost their minds because they love when innocent people get bombed, I guess. I don't know. That's an that's obviously hyperbole there, but it's weird that they were so offended that what Tucker Carlson said, that it's bad when innocent people get bombed, and we could have avoided it.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, and just the fact, even as you're saying, again, if you want to attack you on something hey, you supported the war in Iraq.
Oh, shit.
There's a thing I really got this wrong. And it was, what a twisted society we live in.
I defended Mitt Romney when he ran.
Yeah. But guys, all of the people who got all of these wars wrong don't receive as much outrage as you for saying after the war was won. And by the way, if you know anything about it,
aware.
Was 5-star general Dwight Eisenhower was against the nuke. He said it was unnecessary. They were ready to negotiate a surrender. We didn't need to do this. But also there's just
but I didn't even get into the details of that
you were just saying
thing.
It's wrong on its face.
Exactly. I was just the principle of using nuclear weapons against the civilian population. You could construct in your mind as.
If you enjoy content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Scenario where you could justify it, I guess. but it's still sort of in the cold light of day hard to defend incinerating civilians. By the way, with incendiary bombs too, or conventional bombs, as in Dresden, or it's just bad. Why would that make people on the right so mad?
I'll tell
what
you.
is that?
So this is my kind of theory on it, is that if you'll kind of notice World War II, which is a long time ago at this point, generates this enormous, you said the thing, I love when you said that, about how you could tell there's an infection because you touch it and people recoil.
Yes.
You can tell something's infected there, right?
Yes.
And I could sit here all day long and talk about how we shouldn't have fought World War I. And which we shouldn't have fought.
Well, yeah, that's for sure.
This will generate no controversy. I could say this all day long and go through how Woodrow Wilson was completely wrong to get us involved in World War I. And this was,
the Lusitania was bullshit.
Before Dave Smith says what he's about to say here, I'm pretty sure he's going to say that World War II just generates a tremendous amount of like pride and patriotism whenever you bring it up. Like people are proud that we won World War II or whatever. What I think it is, I think these people like Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, they're trying to pander so much to like the traditional conservatives that are, older. They're not really keeping up much with like TikTok and other news sources and stuff. They kind of just have their Daily Wire. They most of the time just watch news and stuff like that. They somehow found a clip of Ben Shapiro just destroying a college kid in a debate. That sounded bad, but in a debate, on a college campus. And they were like, oh, I want this to be my news source from now on. And they just want to pander to that audience. And, the left is completely bought in to their talking points and their agendas. And no matter what facts or logic you bring to the table, they're going to always be bought into that side of things. And the same thing goes for the right. No matter what nuances you bring to a conversation, no matter, what facts or logic or, Dwight Eisenhower said this or this person said that, it doesn't matter. The right knows that they are supposed to be proud of what happened in World War II. The people who the Daily Wire is supposed to pander to, that the people that the Daily Wire want to pander to, know that they're supposed to be proud of that, and you're not supposed to criticize what America did because they did what had to be done and all this other stuff. So when somebody attacks that, especially from within, somebody who's also supposed to be on the right, then they just don't know how to. Tucker Carlson said it best, like Dave Smith just said. You touch an infection and someone recoils, that's how you know that there's an infection there. And that's very obviously an infection if you're defending the nuking and bombing of civilians so passionately.
Shit.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody cares. I will not hear anything on Twitter tomorrow about saying this. I could talk about how Vietnam was a complete disaster, or also lied into that war and how many people died in it. Korea, Iraq, all of that. World War II is the one that is.
But what's so weird about that is clearly the most important, and we talked about this last night, the most important thing in your life is your marriage and your children.
Yes.
So if I said to you, Dave Smith, I think you have a shitty marriage, you would be like, no, okay. I don't actually. I have a nice marriage. Yeah. That wouldn't, you wouldn't be mad about that. You'd be like, I don't think you really know. Because you're not hiding anything.
Right.
So
so here's the thing. Well, here's what it is, right? And I want to be very clear just when I say this. If you're trying to read between the lines here, I'm not saying that the Holocaust didn't happen or something like that. It did happen, and
people died. Yeah.
Yes, those people are dead. My family was involved in it. It was one of the worst things that's ever happened.
I agree.
World. But look, World War II is the origin story of the American empire. That's when we really became the world empire. And it's the justification for the entire empire. It's why every single neocon, every single hawk goes back to World War II anytime there's a war, because that's what's used to justify every other war. We stopped Hitler, okay? We'd all be speaking German if it wasn't for the American military. So how dare you question the next thing? That's why Saddam Hussein was Hitler. Milosevic was Hitler.
Putin's Hitler.
Putin's Hitler. They're all Hitler. I can't tell you how many people I've heard and I've debated some of these people who defending Israel's attack on Gaza by going, well, we killed a lot of civilians in World War II, so just like that, as if Hamas are the Nazis. It's anything comparable. But the thing is that, so when you talk about World War II, you're only allowed to have the official narrative on it. And here it is. We all know what it is, right? Who are you, Neville Chamberlain? You mean you don't want to go to war? You want to appease? That's the only lesson of history that you're allowed to learn, is that appeasement doesn't work. Presumably, we should have started the war earlier, I guess, is the story. But by the way, you can never learn the lesson of history that sometimes preemptive wars don't work. Sometimes, like ruthless power doesn't work. Maybe sometimes appeasement would be better than that, It's like there's only one, and so that's the lesson. By the way, same thing with Putin. Everybody who, if you didn't support the war, I know you got called this. I watched you get called this. You were never Chamberlain for not wanting to back Ukraine immediately in the war, right? It's the only lesson in history. Now
exactly what I was saying. The right has their, like Dave Smith put it, official talking points, official narrative that you have to say. The software update that these AI bots get, whenever someone criticizes World War II, they just melt down. They melt down. I don't think that there was anything wrong with what Tucker Carlson said on Joe Rogan. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about what Tucker Carlson had to say about this, what Dave Smith had to say about the Daily Wire in this episode on the Tucker Carlson podcast. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this whole Daily Wire versus Tucker Carlson situation.